Here we go.
Okay, and we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another stream on process automation release notes. So today we have Jake and Forrest to talk us through about the version 4.17. So welcome to the show, guys. Before we start, I just want to discuss what's written in your hat today, Forrest?
Oh yeah, the hat today is my local motorcycle shop. I'm kind of excited because I have a new motorcycle purchase I'm working on this week. So at PagerDuty we have one of the values called "Bring Yourself." So I thought I'd bring myself to the call today, and
including the
I also
shirt
brought
too.
my Rundeck Space vintage shirt. That's probably far more exciting and on topic today for our Rundeck and process automation release 4.17.
Cool. No, that's great. I love the shirt. Maybe I should get one of those if they still exist. Cool.
You
have
there's
one
a
as
new
well.
one. I haven't seen that one before with the
I'll
laser
have this up
eyes.
in the background here for the show. The duration of the show.
Yeah, maybe we should get some swag for people who ask questions in the chat. Maybe.
Yeah,
if you are,
that'll get people asking questions.
For the 100th person that joins.
Exactly. Cool. So version 4.17 is out, and I know that there's a lot to share there. So Jake, Forrest, do you want to give us some of the new stuff that was released in this version?
Yeah, there is a ton to share. Honestly, I think Jake's probably the best person to run through some of them. Do you want me to share the release notes, Jake, and just kind of scan through it?
Yeah, let's pull up the doc. Let's share it in the chat as well, and then when the time is right, I can demo some of these things and talk through them.
Great. So you should be able to see my release notes. I'll make them a little bit bigger here. Scanning through the release notes, we'll just, I guess, start at the highlights here. 4.17 was released last week, and we're
the name
at all these runner improvements.
I was going to ask about the name. So it's very difficult for me to pronounce, but I'll try. Basilisk Sandy Brown Flag. Is that correct?
You got it right.
Yes, that's right.
Cool.
We won't ask
actually, that's interesting. I don't know if everyone knows the story on these names, but with every major release or significant release, because back in the 3.x things we did the numbers a little bit differently. We pick a theme for the first entry, and for the 4.0 series, it was mythical creatures. So as we kind of scan backwards, right, we had Bigfoot was. We missed the fun with that one on 4.16, Banshee, Alicorn, lots of different mythical creatures. I'll come back to that towards the end with some topics that I have to talk about after we get through 4.17.
Cool.
We won't ask you to say the name 5 times fast. Basilisk is hard just on its own. So we've got three main highlights and then one kind of a minor one here. But the first one here is runner secrets authentication improvements. So in 4.16, we made some major enhancements to the enterprise runner, allowing it to fetch secrets from a self-hosted secrets management provider like HashiCorp Vault, and then use those secrets inside of job steps within process automation. This is super powerful when you've got remote environments, isolated environments that have their own, again, self-hosted vault. It's kind of mandatory if you're using runbook automation, our SaaS product, and you can't share those secrets with a SaaS vendor. You can't allow inbound, API calls to your Vault instance. So major necessary enhancement. But when we released this feature with 4.16, the ability to use those secrets was limited to job step plugins that allow you to select secrets. This enhancement with 4.17 now allows you to select those secrets from a self-hosted secrets provider like Vault within Node Executor plugins, Node Executor and File Copier plugins. And what that tangibly means in more tactical terms is if you have nodes that in order to communicate with them requires an SSH key or an SSH password or WinRM password, and those credentials for connecting to those nodes is stored in this self-hosted vault, then this the way to retrieve them would be through the Node Executor plugins. And so I could demo this here in a second. Mm-hmm. So that's again a major necessary component of bringing self-hosted secrets to the runner integration. The runner key storage enhancement, that's the second one listed here, is this gets into the intricacies of using secrets from a self-hosted provider in tandem with secrets from our native key storage provider. So Runbook Automation and Process Automation, we offer our own native key storage facility where you can store secrets and then retrieve them as needed throughout the product. And in our initial release in 4.16 with the runner secrets integration, it was created in a way that if you were using secrets from a runner in a job, you couldn't also use secrets from our native key storage facility. So an example there might be where the secret to connect to your on-premise database could only be retrieved through your self-hosted vault. If you wanted to use our SQL runner plugin in your job and use that self-hosted secret to connect to the database, you couldn't also use like an API token for Jira from our native key storage facility as part of that job definition as well. So you had to use either the runner secrets or the native key storage secrets. Okay. Couldn't use both. So this enhancement allows you to mesh the two. It's pretty sophisticated when you stop and think about it for a second. So commend our engineering team yet again for tackling such complex problems.
Our engineering team told us many times it's not easy. So we still did it.
This is the classical product plus engineering conversations and banter. It's easy, right? No. It's easy, right? No. But they managed to get it into the one release. So again, kudos to them. The third one here, totally pivoting away from the runner enterprise runner, but still in the theme of distributed automation, very much in the theme of distributed automation, is this ability to use a couple of our key AWS plugins with environments that span multiple AWS accounts. And this has become a common recurring theme for our customers to use Runbook Automation or Process Automation to be able to orchestrate tasks across multiple, even numerous AWS accounts. And so the enhancement here is specifically for Runbook Automation, and it's the ability to use our EC2 resource model plugin and our systems manager, or as it's known as SSM Node Executor plugin, across multiple accounts. And it's basically allowing the Runbook Automation to use the assume role functionality of AWS basically on a per EC2 instance or target node basis, where if I have a subset of EC2s in one account and then another subset in another account, you can tell Runbook Automation for these EC2s, assume this role so that you can, use the APIs, the AWS SSM SDK to talk to them. And then for these other EC2s, use this assume role to assume this other IAM role to communicate with these EC2s. So yet again, really, really powerful, sophisticated stuff that enables our. Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to simplify the use case for this and clearly kind of put that out there. Like, we've seen this needed by customers that might be like an MSP or retail customers that have multiple AWS accounts that they want to perform automation against. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And even MSPs, I think, is a very clear example where they have their customers' AWS accounts that they're helping them co-manage. What's really interesting is to see some of our customers that are software vendors, but one of the deployment options of their software is to host it in their customers' AWS accounts. And as consequence, we have a couple of these software vendors that want to orchestrate across hundreds, upwards of 1,000 AWS accounts. And so they're leaning heavily into this capability.
Yeah, and this is also going so kind of supporting AWS's recommendations when you have like large enterprises and you want to have like to have separate boundaries for different applications or different teams, or eventually if you are large enough that you are hitting specific limits that are per account limits, and so this will allow you to manage that in a kind of a centralized way. So this is pretty cool. And one of the things that you mentioned as well in these release notes is that you can do this all from within a single project, right? Yeah. So you don't need to have multiple projects on runbook automation to kind of target different accounts, which is also pretty cool.
So one job to rule them all.
Exactly.
Well, maybe.
No, that's a really critical point to call out in that. Runbook automation, built on top of the Rundeck open source core is, you can separate things into projects, but because of the way that we've designed and built this, you can have a job definition in one project, but then use that job definition across your numerous AWS accounts and not have to recreate it or duplicate it.
Yeah.
The last one here, this is the one that I referenced earlier, is more minor, the enhanced feedback on enterprise runners. This is for when you're using the runner to populate the node inventory by using the runner to query, again, self-hosted inventory. So you might have self-hosted, you have Ansible in your environment and you have an Ansible inventory file, or you're using VMware, and the only way to discover that inventory, especially if you're using runbook automation, is to have a piece of software in your environment talking to that inventory, and that would be our enterprise runner. What we did with 4.17 is make it so that if the runner doesn't have the appropriate plugins to connect to that on-premise inventory, or your runner is out of date, in order to do this, we've given much more clear, understandable feedback signals to the end user to know what they need to do with their runners in order to pull in that inventory.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good segue to some of the additional updates. The runner, there is a new version of the runner. So for all of these, or at least the first two features, and a lot of the stuff we did in 4.16, that's an update that customers will need to go and do across their instances where they're running that, right?
And looking at the other additional updates, we added it's kind of a niche mode to our CyberArk plugin. We can maybe, if time permitting, we can talk about that. I think wasn't there a community? Let's see. I think there was a community supported fix in this release, but I might be mistaken. Nodes, looking through the rest of these, if there's anything else worth mentioning.
Lots of fixes, as you can see, and one very minor cross-site scripting thing that a customer found in our tour management solution. But these ones up at the top, I think, are
the main ones.
Are definitely the main ones, and I'm sure everybody is keen to see the Jake demo for that.
Okay, cool. I'll head it there. Jake, go ahead.
So tee us up with the environment. What do you got here?
Yeah, so this will be more demoing like what does the config look like rather than the kind of end-to-end workflows, so to speak. But so we'll start with the first highlight, which was allowing to use secrets retrieved by runner to self-hosted vault integration. using that, being able to do that through node executors and file copiers. So the primary use case there is, if I within a project, my way of communicating with nodes is through SSH, then I need to be able to authenticate my runner with those nodes, and I might not store my SSH keys in Runbook Automation. I might store those SSH keys in a self-hosted vault, and I might use Vault's key rotation to keep those keys fresh. And so now, in order to accommodate all of that architecture, if I have a like SSH key storage path, right? This key is could be stored in our native key store, and you could navigate the key storage tree here. But now what you'll also notice is the ability to choose one of the enterprise runners from your environment, and source the keys from the self-hosted runner, and pull those keys from a self-hosted vault. Unfortunately, you don't have a vault set up for this runner in this environment, but assuming that I did, I would then see the key storage tree from that self-hosted vault here. I could select that secret path here, and that would then populate the SSH key storage path. You would see runner / the runner ID / and then the path to the key in that self-hosted vault. And that's what would allow this runner to use that secret from Vault in its communication over SSH to the nodes in this environment. And so again, prior to 4.17, we didn't have this ability to use the secrets as part of the node executor and file copier plugins.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The other highlight that I will demonstrate here is it's over the course of a couple of plugins, but this first one is this assume role functionality. So if you're using Runbook Automation, then the way that you authenticate and integrate with AWS is through the IAM role delegation, where you use the Runbook Automation account ID. Your project will have a unique or external ID that you'll plug in on the AWS side, and then you'll plug in the role that you are assigning or delegating to Runbook Automation. And so this is what gives Runbook Automation, think of it as this is now its basis authentication. And then what you're able to do is, with the AWS plugins in this project, you can use that level of entitlement to then assume another role, perhaps in another AWS account. And this might be in our customer's AWS account. And this is what, in effect, allows them to accommodate that cross-account authentication and cross-account mechanisms. And so what we did in 4.17 is we made it so that you could do that with our SSM plugin, as well as with our EC2 resource model plugin. So if I add my EC2 resources plugin here, the assume role ARN now will use that entitlement that was given to the project through the external ID, IAM auth. It will use that to then assume another role. And that might be, again, a role in another account. And so what this might mean is that these EC2 instances might be pulled from another AWS account, and I can add this EC2 plugin again and add EC2 instances from yet another AWS account, and so on and so forth. So I might end up with EC2s in this one project from across 50, 100, 200 different accounts. And Runbook Automation now knows which role to assume for each of these instances. And it knows how to do that for the SSM command execution as well. So like I said, really sophisticated orchestration. Again, hats off to our
So do they need to configure that role for each one of these node sources, or is it going to inherit from that plugin config that we were on for the project?
So it depends on what they're trying to do, right? If in effect, if they have these multiple EC2 instances from multiple AWS accounts, then they will need to have a different ARN for each of these. More likely than not, because they will not have a single ARN that is entitled to talk to all of these AWS accounts.
Okay.
So it's still I'd say, it's still a fairly elegant approach in that you can populate this node inventory programmatically. You don't have to do it through the GUI here. And so customers of ours can, as they're onboarding new customers of theirs, programmatically add these instances with the assume role ARN field populated and tackle this mass orchestration programmatically.
Yeah, and I do see your point, Forrest. But on the other hand, so it would kind of simplify things if we just had like this ARN that we could use across multiple accounts. But at the same time, there will probably be some additional security concerns raised with that. But that's definitely it's also how AWS recommends you to do this, and the integration is very straightforward here. And I had the opportunity to test this before in an AWS account, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and tying I guess maybe all of the enhancements together, what we are seeing customers do is, they'll have mixed inventory in a given project, and so for some of their inventory, they have a runner talking to their nodes over SSH, and then they have some of their nodes being communicated to using SSM. But the level of node communication abstraction means that they can use a single job definition across these different node inventories, regardless of what the communication protocol is to them. So again, pretty nice in being able to reuse your automation definitions regardless of what communication protocol you're using for them.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. This is great. Do you have, Jake, any other demo that you wanted to share with us today, or?
Not at this time. I think with the time we have left, I think Forrest and I want to maybe talk about what's kind of on the horizon with regards to process automation.
Yeah, so keen observers of our open source project will probably have noticed that we are working towards a 5.0 release for Rundeck. Now, our major releases, as example, 4.17, we release a ton of new features and new functionality throughout all of our releases. 5.0 is very much about the foundational level, right? So with 5.0, we're not looking at some huge release or anything that's going to shake things up too bad, but they do typically come with important upgrade steps. I won't call them breaking changes yet because we don't have any identified, but there are going to be some new, what we have, settled on. There are going to be some new minimum requirements. And there's the usual things that longtime Rundeckers will, be familiar with. Will be kind of bumping up the minimum API versions, etc. We will be likely releasing what we'll call like an alpha candidate or a release candidate of the 5.0 in, I would say, a few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. That the community is welcome to give us feedback on through GitHub and the other regular channels. Some of the foundational updates we're doing, Grail 6, moving up to Grail 6, and Java 11 will become a new minimum version. Trying to remember what else is on the list there, but
yeah, I think H2 database upgrade.
There will be hopefully you're not using the H2 database in production, right? The H2 database exists to get that system up and running, but it is absolutely not really our recommendation for production. It has served us well, but there will be an H2 upgrade to address a security issue that There is not a migration plan for. All those details will be in the upgrade notes, right? When you go through an upgrade from previous versions, it's always important to follow our upgrade notes and the iterative steps. I know there are folks out there still, on quite old versions of Rundeck. We highly encourage you to upgrade at a minimum to, bring it up to current security standards, etc. But yeah, the Grail 6 is going to help us address some of those. There's kind of been an outstanding snake YAML issue that we have to upgrade to Grail 6. And hopefully along the way, as we work on some of these, we'll have some more, positive improvements. I'm sure Jake will try to slip in something really cool for the 5.0 release as well. But our focus is to get that out of the way. Also, in parallel, but not tied to the 5.0 release, we are, I think some of the foundational parts have already been done. We're upgrading all of the UI code to Vue 3. I think that the libraries are there. We're just now working on converting the actual code. We have got old Knockout and GSP and all kinds of other types of pages out there, and standardizing on that Vue platform. So bear with us as we go through some of these versions. We're doing everything we can to find all the little UI and UX, bugs and tricks and things, but there's so much going on in Rundeck. We do promise that if we do break something in one of those migrations, we will iterate quickly and fix it. So yeah, look forward to Rundeck 5. I will loosely say December-ish, but that is always dependent on the technology gremlins that live out there in the interwebs.
Yeah. So does that mean that 4.17 is the last version of
it will not necessarily be the last version. I know actually in the next day or two, we're going to issue a point release to fix a couple urgent bugs in the 4.17 release related to user classes. Not everyone's really using that, so it's that's coming. Since the timeline for the 5.0 release is so long, right? It's a lot of work to do these foundational upgrades. Yep. We will likely do some other point releases to address, customer related bugs or, anything that's sort of standing out. We'll be able to backport those. So there's likely going to be a 4.17 to somewhere around the same time as that alpha release of 5.0. But so what happens when we go to 5.0 is the 4.x gets put on sort of a maintenance mode. If there's a security bug or super critical bug, we will fix that on that release. Otherwise, all the new stuff will head straight towards 5.
Okay, cool, good to know. That's great news. So anything else that you guys want to add before we close the stream?
No.
Good
to see you guys.
Cool. It was nice to have you on the show as usual. And well, I hope everyone enjoyed the announcements on the 5.0. And see you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.